Hi, I'm Steve Lett. I'm here today to introduce Dr. Brian Martinson, the founder of the HRIS project. Brian is a professor of human resource management at Tarleton State University. Brian is a senior professional in human resources certified by the Human Resources Certification Institute, or HRCI. He is also SHRM SCP certified with 37 years of practical HR management experience. We're fortunate to have Dr. Martinson with us today. He will discuss how the HRIS project benefits TSU students and small Texas employers. Take it away, Brian.
Good morning, Steve, and thanks for taking the time to talk with me about this project. I'll start by just telling you kind of how it came about, how we got going. A couple of small businesses asked me if I would help them resolve some of the issues they were having. Seemed to be mostly centered around, managing paperwork and employee records. In the process of working with them, I told them, I said, I don't want to be paid as a consultant, but I'd love to have the opportunity to bring my students on board so they can gain some practical experiences. In the process of doing those projects, we ended up finding Effortless HR. We looked at a bunch of different HRIS systems and found out that Effortless HR was perfect for small to medium-sized businesses. It was a really affordable price, extremely easy to use. So we used it to implement in one of the projects, and we're so happy with it. We reached out to Effortless HR and said, hey, would you be willing to, work with us and kind of work developing this project? And part of the reason this is important is it's really difficult for students to get that first HR job without any practical HR experience. So the project is designed to give them the opportunity to work on a real live HR environment, working with real live businesses under the guidance of me as a professor, but also working with the business owner. And it gets them a resume credit and they get their career started.
Awesome. Thanks, Brian. The HRIS project provides students with practical HR experience while at the same time addressing the HR challenges of small employers. Student internships make it far easier for HR graduates to gain employment by demonstrating real-life experience. Can you please help us understand how the HRIS project addresses the challenges of small employers specific to HR compliance?
Yeah, I mean, usually small businesses do not have a dedicated HR person. And one of the main problems is that individual responsible for those tasks has got other things they're trying to manage and keep track of. And just keeping track of the paperwork, and people tend to use Excel spreadsheets, paper files. They have piles of different documents spread out all over, sometimes in a filing cabinet. A lot of times they're just stacked up on desks because they're accessing them periodically throughout the day. The nice thing about the Effortless HR system is it organizes all that. It keeps all of that available to them literally at their fingertips. The system is web-based, so it can be accessed from any computer. And employees can have access, so they can do a lot of stuff on their own that you don't have to have the individual HR representative or the business owner involved with. It helps kind of put a structure in place that the business can follow. It helps them with some compliance related things in terms of keeping the required documents available in the record form, but also just making sure they're doing things regularly, like making sure trainings are being handled properly and timely, and making sure performance evaluations. Again, that's the benefit of using an HR system. It kind of forces you to follow the structure, and it makes it all easier to tap into and utilize the records that are in there. And what I think is the best part about Effortless HR is it's a simple web-based system that they can access pretty much anywhere, including, from a cell phone.
Great, Brian. That's a great point. Physical file folders in a file cabinet are probably the least secure method of securing sensitive employee records. Leaving stuff out, laying on a desk, it's just not a good security system. So this all sounds great. How involved is the participating employer in the HRIS project, and are there financial commitments that the employer needs to make?
So that's probably one of the best parts of the HRIS project. I have experience implementing information systems, so I pretty much take the lead and guide the process. We do need to interact periodically with the business owner. We have an initial meeting where we explain what we're going to do and the time frame we're going to do it in. We do need to get access to the information that we're going to put in the system. So we usually set up like a shared folder where the business owner or the representative can put information in that we will then put into the system. But really, we do all the work, and we do all the work, independently. So it's not a constant, spending all day long with a business owner. And because again, these are people that are extremely busy, probably have a million other things they're trying to do. So we have probably a couple of 30-minute meetings to get things going. We let them, give us the information at their schedule. Generally, the way we do it is we'll grab the information, we'll start putting it in the system, we'll meet after a few days or even a week or two and say, here's what we have so far. Is this what you're expecting? Is this going to work for you like this? Are there other things we want to do to modify or to configure the system? Once we have enough information set up and we're ready to roll it out to the employees, we do a final check with the business owner. And once they give us the go ahead, we help them schedule that first rollout meeting where we actually train the employees how to use the system. The whole time, the intern, the HR student intern, will work with the organization and make sure that the managers who learn how to use the management capabilities of the system and be there just as a support person for up to a 4-month period. And that's the other nice thing about it. There's no charge to it. We don't charge, there's no fees for the system. There's no fees for the student's time or my time. We just simply are using this as an opportunity to let the student gain experience. And after that period of time, if the business wants to continue using Effortless HR, that's something they can just do automatically. They can go to the pricing is on the website. They can pick the plan that works best for them and begin using the paid system. But it's not a short little demo. It's a fully functioning system put together by the HRIS project team with the help of the business owner that functions for, up to 4 months.
Boy, that sounds almost too good to be true, Brian. Can you tell us about the types of students who are engaged in this project?
Generally, they're all HR majors. If they're undergraduates, we enroll them into the project in their senior year. So they've got quite a bit of background in the education aspect and the theoretical aspect of HR. They're just trying to get that first actual practical experience. We also have a MSHRM graduate program, and we have students that are participating in that. And a lot of these students have considerable amount of work experience. But still would like to have that HR experience that is directly related to the career path of HR. And as a matter of fact, currently I'm working with one of our top HR students, and she's a graduate student implementing a system here in the North Texas area.
Boy, this is just a great value for the graduating HR student. I imagine it can be pretty challenging to get your first job in HR without having something on your resume that says, I actually did this for an employer.
Yeah, I mean, HR is a tricky field. It's kind of a catch-22. Nobody wants to hire a student or a person coming out of an education program in an HR job until they've had that professional HR experience. But how do they get that? Generally, it is through internships. But there's a finite number of employers in the Stephenville area where our main campus is. That's part of what motivated this. But also in general, it's difficult getting into an HR internship. So, that's why we created this project. It's we're asking businesses to take a little time and participate in help a student get their foot in the door and get their initial first experience. But in return, they really get quite a value. 4 months of a free, fully functioning HR information system. We're hoping that that's attractive and people, see that as a value that, not only to help the student, but for their own business, they could really benefit from it.
Exactly, Brian. I imagine it can be difficult for a small employer without a full-time HR manager to track things like paid time off, employee performance appraisals, and then you just combine that with the myriad of federal, state, and local HR regulations. There are just many things that can trip up a small business at any time. The HRIS project provides a really strong benefit to the small employer.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one, you have really good record keeping ability and record retrieval, which is probably as equally important. You know, you have all the contact information for your employees, emergency contact information. You have historical records of their performance evaluations and performance review processes. You know, the required federal or state documents that you keep track of I-9s and such. Um, it makes it easier. Plus, the basic structure of the system helps businesses realize, oh, we really should be keeping track of that. The HRIS system, Effortless HR, has the ability to keep notes on interactions with employees. It has the ability to keep track of any assets that are issued to the employee so that you know where things are, who has what. Usually in the case of if employees leaving, if they're terminating an employee, you know, you have a record of the things that you need to collect when they go through the exit interview process. Plus, the system just allows a lot of reporting. So if there's particular questions the business is wondering and needs to kind of come up with information, the system has stored all that information, so you can go in and pull it out in the form of, you know, instant reports.
That's great. I agree. It's difficult for a small business to implement an HR system, from my experience. Over the years, I've seen many small employers start to implement an HR system, and because of a lack of personnel and technical HR resources, they implement about 10% of what the system offers. They end up with an incomplete solution that provides a fraction of what they actually need.
Yeah, that is the challenge. I mean, if you're busy with all kinds of other opportunities or responsibilities, to be able to sit down and to actually just start setting up the system, that's very difficult. And again, that's the benefit of the HRIS project and Effortless HR. The HRIS project is, we'll do that for you. We'll do that for a business. We understand and we know how to work with the system and we know how to organize the records. The Effortless HR system itself is streamlined. It's very easy. It's, you know, to be able to figure out where things need to be placed, how to access them. Um, it is challenging. And I know a lot of times businesses will try to, you know, they'll spend a long time looking for a system. And then once they start working on it, it just becomes overwhelming in terms of the thoughts and the processes that need to go into place to get it up and running. The benefit of this project is we do all that. It's done very quickly. We're there to help along as the business gets used to operating it. And the Effortless HR system is perfect because it's just so accessible and so easy. It takes 15, 20 minutes to train the employees how to use it. And that they can, in that process, track time, track leave accruals, request time off, find records that they want to have access to, and things like that. So it's just, you know, this is a good solution for those issues of, you know, too much time it takes for other larger systems and the complexity.
Yeah, that's a good point. Um, Thank you, Brian. Yeah, I think you have a few slides you'd like to share with the attendees. So why don't I let you share the screen and we can go from there.
Great. Let me go ahead and bring this up. So really, just to give an overview of the system, Effortless HR has three basic hierarchy, or the hierarchy has three basic levels. There's the employee level, there's the manager level, and an admin level. Everybody in the system would have an employee level where they could see and interact with the records. Managers can set up those records for employees. And then at the admin level, they can do all of it. They can set up the management access, they can set up the infrastructure. So really, three basic levels are what we use to set up the whole system. Kind of a hierarchical view of it. Basically, an admin has super access to everything. Managers have access to their own personal records, plus the employees that are assigned to them. This is just a shot of the employee screen. Anybody logging in goes to the employee portal, and all of these provide the functionality of the system. We'll go through one of these as a brief demo. The manager screen has the same. It has the employee portal, just like the employees do, but it also has access to manage employees and reporting ability. And then the homepage for the manager screen is the calendar, which is like a tickler system that provides information about activities that are coming due. And then the admin screen. This is used for setting up the system. It has a bunch of resources that help an HR person in terms of understanding and complying with various rules and regulations. It has the ability to do applicant tracking. There's a great handbook builder if a business wants to create a handbook, plus the reporting function, and then the company setup and the employee setup screens. So the way we usually launch the system is once it's up and running and everything is in place, we will enter an individual email for each of the users of the system. Once that email is entered and saved, it triggers this message to go to all users, which it tells them your username for this system, and it gives them a computer-generated password. Once they get that, they can click this button or this link, and it'll bring them over to the employee login screen. Then they can just plug in their username and password, hit login, then they're in the system. I mentioned it a little earlier, but this is kind of the process we go through for setting up the project. So we have a memo of understanding so everybody understands what everybody's roles are and the time frame involved. We then start asking for the information that we're going to use to put in the system. Once we have all of that information, the internship process is the student intern will start inputting the information. We meet a couple of times with the representative of the business to make sure everything is the way they would like it. Once we have it, we're ready to roll it out to the employee group. We invite them to a training session that we lead, and we bring them through and get everybody logged into the system, making sure they understand how to use it. So that's it in the overview.
Great, Brian. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. For the attendees, if you're interested in additional information, please reach out to Brian and I for a follow-up meeting to answer any questions that arise from this session. Our email addresses are included below the video link here. We're also including links for you to learn more about the HRIS project, Effortless HR, and some of our other partners in the HRIS project. We'll also provide a link to a short live demo of the HR platform, Effortless HR, upon request. So, Brian, thanks so much for your time today. We really appreciate it. And
Great. Thank you, Steve. I appreciate the opportunity.
Awesome. Thank you.